Good afternoon and welcome to the Robinhood Capitalists. I'm your host, DJ Flores. My coach is not. Coach Stacey is dealing with some family issues. Prayers for Mama Barnes. Hopefully everything goes smooth for you guys. So, but unfortunately, Coach Stacey is not able to join me live. So I do not like to do. So I'm a little nervous. Sorry, y'all. But I am excited about having really our next guest come out. When we connected, so it's funny, I started really enjoying his content about a year and a half ago, when I really started to connect with people and kind of use LinkedIn for finding guests for the first show, Sales Chatter Live, which he is in the logistics background. And so that's where our paths kind of crossed. But we never really connected. But then he had reached out, or I don't know how we connected, the end of last year, started to chat a little bit. He told me what he was doing. And I said, man, I think you would be a great guest to have on. First off, your story is amazing, but you've been able to kind of overcome adversity as a business owner. Anybody who's a founder, business owner of any sort, that lonely road. And so I think his story, again, where we talked about last week, and how me and Coach really wanted to help you stay motivated of hitting your goals. January is up. It's okay. We're into February. But like his video kind of shares, and I actually just talked with him backstage before I bring him out. But I said, Nick, did you make this video on purpose? Like, did you know that we about kind of resetting goals? Because his video is funny. If you didn't see it today, treat for y'all. I got it here and going to start it. But again, who we have as our guest is the founder of Stride Motivation. Come on, screen. There we go. Stride Motivation. So Nick Klingensmith is going to come out. I can't wait to have him out. His content drew me to following him about a year and a half ago. He's also the author of Through the Fire. You can find this on Amazon. Again, I can't wait to dive into the story. I actually just recently seen that you wrote the story. I've seen all of your posts of your journey through this, but I can't wait to dive into that as well. But again, be with y'all and get ready to start the show.
You haven't failed. You just haven't started yet. 80% of people have already failed their New Year's goals, but that's only because they haven't started their New Year's goals. But the thing is, most of your goals
you get one heartbeat song. Take it seriously. This is your masterpiece. Don't forget to dream and taste the colors in the air you breathe. It's your masterpiece. Go ahead and feel it all. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful.
Sorry about the video, y'all. The video orientation that I needed it to lay out is not available live, and I was not obviously able to test that without going live. But here you are, Nick. So again, that video was on the money. It was talking about goals.
I'll just drop the knowledge.
What's that?
I said, I'll just drop the knowledge. I mean, it's fresh on the brain.
Please give it to him, and then give him a little background of who you are, kind of what your story is, and what led you to starting Strive Motivation.
All right. The message is this today, is that 80% of people have already failed their goals for the year, but it's only because 80% of the people have not started their goals for the year. We're too focused on the fact that, oh, it's the year and a month has gone by. I might as well give up now. But the fact is, most goals do not take a year. It does not take a year to go to the gym, to start losing weight, to call your mom, to start reading that book, to start taking that class. It only takes one day to get started. So let's make today that day. Where am I coming up with this? Because 20 years ago, almost, I was diagnosed with cancer for the first time. And in the last 19 years, I've had cancer 4 times. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have 7 herniated discs from 2 different rollover fatality car accidents. I was in a motorcycle accident. I had meningitis. I have sleep apnea, nerve damage. I'm forgetting something. Occasional attitude problem. Definitely too familiar with F-bombs, but that's not the story. The story is that I used all that and became an obstacle course racer and defied it all. In the last 7 years, I've done 97 Spartan races, 6 major marathons, about 50 different obstacle course and endurance races. Throughout that process, I've raised over $25,000 for charity, published a book, and now I'm spending all my time in my life trying to pass on this message of encouragement, inspiration, and hope that the same way I will not be defied by my adversity, but rather my triumph over it. And I want that to be the story. So in that, it's a day-to-day execution. And that means we're constantly chasing goals. We're constantly, and I mean constantly, daily, minute, throughout the day, evaluating our progress, our actions, and our thoughts. And I had to remind myself that there are some of my goals of my own that I have not been getting after as much. And I started to get a little discouraged. I started to doubt myself. And I said, dude, it's February. Get up, get out, let's go. And I'll tell you what, that was 8 hours ago, 9 hours ago? I'm already better.
I mean, I love how you end your videos with live inspired. I think that is more of what we need to do. Is there has to be something that's driving us. Now obviously sales and your athletic background, all of that, and even the competitions now. But I know you're gonna nail this, because I heard you say this in the video before this, but it's a big thing that I live by. And this game of life, like to me, this is a game. This is really a game. Like Dr. Wayne Dyer likes to say, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so this is just a game. This meat suit, this character is just this avatar that I get to build, and it has certain levels that I could go with it. But obviously it has certain limitations too. I'm 5'0", so I can't be like a pro basketball player or something like that. So there are certain roads but there are also paths that we know. And so I know you're big on discipline, you're big on purpose. And I think those are 2 things I've heard you say a lot. And with goals, that was one of the things that would stop me, is you get defeated by that one bad day. Oh no, I started a diet and now I cheated this one day. Well, diet's over, give up, and you just give up. But so what really drove you through all of, I mean, man, 4-time cancer, what was always the push for you?
It wasn't, I guess it was. And I'm going to say this as a spiritual man myself, and I'm not a religious man, but I have a higher power. I have a relationship with God. All those things that were happening to me, I am now convinced that it was God pushing me. Even 2 years sober, I still hadn't got the message. And that's when I got cancer for the 4th time. I remember when I was in my car accident in 1998, I was in a Jeep Wrangler, an 87 Jeep Wrangler. And I mentioned that. And the reason that's important is because when I got hit, the whole car just basically folded backwards, like the seats folded backwards. So when I lost control of the vehicle and flipped it end to end, I shot out the rear window about 30 yards. Yeah, no, it was nuts. I mean, we're pulling over the side of the highway, running to the vehicle, and they're like, "The hell did he go?" I'm like, "I'm over here," and because I got up, but I was only about 19 years old, and I was in college, and of course they took me to the ER, and an ambulance came, and for all intents and purposes, I mean, I got 2 herniated discs from that car accident, And, I got some cuts and bruises. There's still a little glass in my arm 25 years later, but a woman who was working there walked up to me, and I just remember her saying this because I was the rollover guy. People were coming from all over the hospital to see me. I should not have lived through that. And they're like, "Oh my God, the rollover guy," which of course you don't think anything of it. I'm just in shock still. And she goes, "You're meant for greater things." And that had never occurred to me before. And I kept that memory, but I don't think it was enough for me yet. And really, that's where I just had to go through and go through and go through, because to be honest, I didn't have the attitude that I had now. I was a victim. I was pissed off about it. I was the angry, gritty, pissed off guy. And as we talk about sales, that anger, that resentment was a fuel for me. When I became good at sales was when I got betrayed by a girl. And that was it, because no rejection mattered. The attitudes, nothing mattered. It just became so minimal to me that my emotion was just so much about rage and anger that I had, the confidence, if you will, at the time, we'll say arrogance. And for a long time, that worked for me until it becomes a poison and you need something else. And that's really where I found myself a little over 7 years ago, when I was sitting in my office back when I was with Blue Grace, and my boss walked into my office and he goes, "Nick, I want you to do a Spartan race with me." I looked at him and no, fuck no. A 10-mile trail run with obstacles and to train for this? You're out of your mind. I had no intention of being that uncomfortable. But that's when it occurred to me that night. Here I was, 2 years sober, been promoted at work. I had just decisively beaten cancer for the 4th time. I was in a great relationship with a woman that's my now wife, and I was lost. Something was empty. Something was missing. And so I had to take him up on that challenge because I needed something. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea the adventure I would be going on. I had no idea that it would be, hundreds of races later. But what I found through that process and what I discovered that night is that I was a victim. I had not overcome anything. I had not overcome my adversity. I had merely survived it. I had been a victim to it and had been hostage and prisoner and was just hanging on by a thread. And all of a sudden, as I started doing these races and I started picking up new habits, and that's the big part about the habits that go into it, because obstacle course racing is not a hobby for me. It's a lifestyle. And that lifestyle affects every aspect of my life, from physical discipline and consistency and planning and diet and exercise and sleep and wellness. But you got to work on mental health, and I need money for all this. So, prioritization, and you just really have to become intentional with your time. But about 7 months after I had been doing it, people just started to react to me differently. And I really got to see a new me in a reflection from other people. And I liked what I saw, and I liked how I felt about myself. And I really felt like that new kid at college with just a world in front of them and you can do whatever you want. And then about 7 months in, I got hit by another car. I was in another Jeep, only this time the other car was the one that did the rolling over. I was still badly injured. I got several more herniated discs from it. I got nerve damage from it. And I had to spend the next 2 months back in that limbo. That same day, my cat died. A couple days later, the woman who hit me died. And even though all I was doing was sitting at a red light, it doesn't matter. The last thing that she knew in her life was she met me and died. So, of course, that's something that you carry with you. And all this stuff was suddenly being taken away from me. And it was in that moment that I decided I am not going to be a victim anymore. I said, no, I am going to defy everything that has held me back. And the greatest thing that has ever held me back is the 2 inches of real estate right here. And that's when I decided that there literally is nothing that is going to stand in my way. I will defy everything. To your point, it's like a game, because like a rebellious teenager, I will overcome it. And that's been the attitude that I have been able to kind of carry with me and then develop over the last couple of years. So what really just started off as a defiance has ultimately become, I don't want to call it unbreakable resilience, because I feel like I'm tempting the gods a little bit too much there, but you know what? Bring it.
You know what, though? I think you nailed so much, and I can't wait to really amazing shorts from that. But you touched on some things, and really that I want to go back to. So first, this game is you versus you. It really is just you versus you. And you talked about that with even the Spartan race. There is no actual, in a lot of those races, there is no first place. There's really not, because it's almost like it's you against you and your time and stuff like that, and in that world. But I think, when did you really, because I think the breaking point for most we have to get to is when we own everything. And I heard you say that in a previous podcast. And I know would you say that's when this unbreakable is, when you figured out, like, hey, everything that happened, like, that was me. Everything it was some decision of mine. But now, like, belief is just in me. Now, like, bring it on, game on. Would you say that when you started to own all of that, good, bad, ugly, whatever, that is when it became a different game?
Absolutely. That's what makes it unbreakable resilience. So I began the events of my book end in 2018, so I wrote the first draft in 2019. The first draft was a ego manifesto. It was the movie version, the one I wanted everybody to read. But I spent the next 2 years revising. The
superheroes picked up everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's perfect in every way. He's moderately flawed, but we like that part about him. Yeah, he's just rogue. And that's how I wanted it to appear, right? Like, oh, he's just got some, he's got some demons he works out. And then throughout revising the book, I had to take away the bullshit. Otherwise it would have been that book and nobody would have cared about it, because nobody's going to care about this if they don't know about who I was. So I just had to be honest, and I had to be brutally honest. What's ironic is that I was honest about my drinking adventures in the first version of the book, because, again, there was a lot of narcissism there, because I didn't care what you thought about me. Oh, I did all this bad behavior, whatever. It wasn't until the revising that you really begin to see yourself in a different light. And then you begin to realize maybe it really didn't happen that way. And then you begin to think, you know what? Yes, that happened. Yes, that person treated me badly. Yes, that was unfair. But what happened next? Because everything that happened to you may not have been anything to do with you. You may not be at fault. You may not be to blame, but we are responsible. And from everything that happens from this point right off, we are responsible. And when I took responsibility for my diabetes and managing my diabetes, it no longer has power over me. It's annoying. Don't get me wrong. I'm still diabetic. It's still like a constant challenge, but I refuse to let it stop me from being the best version of myself. And that is a choice. Anything can happen to us. The thing about my story is that it is relatable, because I've had 27 different things happen to me, but none of them are like, cancer is bad, but people have it a lot worse than I did. People have it a lot worse than I do. I just think it's the multitude of things that continue to happen. But it was throughout that process that I began to really realize just the power that comes in taking responsibility for your circumstances.
I'm so glad I went there, because I think that's where the freeness does come from, is when you own it all, when you're responsible for it all. And that's where I think that's the realization of the game, is like, you can give the control. You can give the controller to whoever you want, whatever bad habit or use or thing, but you're just giving the control there. You're still responsible for you're like, the only things that we can control is our effort and our attitude. There's nothing else in this world. There's nobody that can control me. There's nobody that can control anybody else. It's if we allow that, but they're giving the control away. And so, I think
it's like this. If I say that I blame you for this, that means I'm asking you and giving you the power to fix this. But if I'm blaming you for this, I've already acknowledged the fact that you're not going to fix it. So I guess I'll just sit here and be a victim. Or my life is my responsibility. Now, I'll give you an example, practical example too, because when I used to run sales office and teams and logistics, we had a mantra in our office, which was, it may not be our fault, but it is our responsibility. I worked for a 3PL. We don't drive trucks. We are a facilitator of information and communication. That is our only job. If somebody's going to call us up and we're going to blame the driver, what do they need us for? Right? It may not be our fault. In fact, it probably is not. It doesn't matter who got the right piece of information. We'll get that later, not because I care about blame, just because we care about not repeating the mistake. But right now, someone hired us to do a job and they are not looking for excuses. We have, and it's, people hate it at first because you're taking away their safety net. But once they separate responsibility and fault and they realize they're not being accused of anything, that they're not in trouble and nobody's saying you messed it up, they're like, oh, but I do have the power to fix it. I do have the power to impact it. Over time, those people begin to take more and more autonomy in their role. And if it's that same philosophy, when you've accepted that you are responsible, you begin to see that you have more and more autonomy in your own life. You have more and more power in your own life. And to be honest, whatever, I'm still a narcissist. I'm still a control freak, which means that I see that power that I have and I want more of it, but it's healthier this time.
Well, and so I where we really connect, you talked also a lot about daydreaming and visualization, and I think when I really started to believe in myself, because I think there's a lot of people that that's their biggest crutch. Just don't believe in themselves enough, and they think, well, that person could do it because of this, or that person could do it because, well, they had this, and this, and well, if they could do it, they're human just like me. Like, I can do it too.
Yes.
And so there's just certain skills, something that you need to add there. But I think visualization, the power of that, I want you to get more into that and how that has helped and how it can help with your message and with anybody who might be seeing this, who is kind of maybe gave up, like, oh man, 2024 is going to suck just like 2023 because it's already and I didn't hit this. Like, what do you think advice, or what can you help them to get over that?
I love how you said daydream first, because, when you hear visualization, if they don't know any better, it's not enough, or it's too hard for them. Or when I was like 22, I worked for a telecom company and I was in a tremendous amount of debt, and I was probably making like 45 a year with my commissions, and I just didn't see a way out. I'm like, how am I ever going to live past this? How am I ever, like, every penny I had went to whatever. And I was like, the place I worked at, I didn't see how I could make a lot more money. And I remember that I had, they gave us stock options and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'd start praying to God that the company sold. I'm like, that's the only way I'll ever get out of this and make any money. It's because I was just too preconditioned for small ball. You go to step one, then step two, and you learn this and you develop that. And, in these silos of life that right now, that was 20 years ago, right? We're in a much different spot right now. We're in a global economy. We're in a global community. Like, I was on a podcast in the Netherlands the other day. It was amazing. So I don't know if we have to be entrenched in those same things. So I think the problem that people have today then is comparison. Because to your point, they're looking at the Zuckerbergs and the Musks and stuff like that, forgetting that Zuck was just a geek at Harvard, and like that people started out as normal human beings. But the first time I really started to visualize was when I was running the 2018 Boston Marathon. And because it was my first marathon, and everything I studied about mental toughness and marathon training, it always talked about, visualization. And so for 90 straight days, now I grew up in Massachusetts. I'd been to the marathon a dozen times, but I had never run a marathon. So I knew the route, I knew the colors, I knew the sounds. And for 90 straight days, I visualized the marathon. And by visualize, I didn't just like close my eyes for 5 minutes. Every night for 30 minutes while I was stretching, I saw myself running along the route. And after a while, once I've got those certain scenes kind of memorized and ingrained into my soul, you start hearing the crowds at different intersections. And then you do it a little bit better and you start smelling things, you start feeling things, you start putting yourself there. So I daydream this all the time. And on Marathon Monday in 2018, it was arguably the worst weather conditions in the history of the Boston Marathon. It was hypothermic temperatures the entire time, torrential downpour, 40-mile-an-hour headwinds. I don't, you can't because it's a virtual background, but I mean, it was absolute soak. There wasn't 1 second of dryness throughout the day. There was actually a period of time where I came up on an aid station and I was trying to tell them to open my gel for me because my hands were frozen shut. I couldn't open them. It was the most miserable and rewarding experience of my life. And keep in mind, I had never run a marathon before. But here's the thing. Did I want to quit? There was one dark moment in the race, and it was around mile 17 or 18, because 2 days before the marathon, I had dinner at this restaurant with my wife and my aunt and uncle, and I ran past that restaurant, and all I could think of was, man, we drove home after this. I'm like, and I still got to run back to the hotel. But here's the thing that people ask me all the time. They're like, did you ever want to quit? I said no, because for 90 straight days, I felt myself crossing the blue and yellow iconic finish line of the Boston Marathon. I felt myself cheering down Boylston. I literally did not know how to quit. It was not an option. And there's a couple things about visualization, right? Number one, you do have to dream big. It has to be a compelling vision for you to commit to it. However, it's got to be a realistic vision. I didn't visualize winning the Boston Marathon. I visualized finishing the Boston Marathon. But with anything, I mean, when I'm doing my runs now, like I listen to music and I jam out and I'll visualize a race. So when I'm coming up on a big race, I do the same thing. I literally will picture the obstacles. I'll picture what I'm wearing. That's why if you look at any of my race photos, I'm often dressed in the same thing. I just want to that's my uniform. That's why I see myself, think about it, put myself there. I get these feelings. But nowadays when I'm running, I think not just about finishing a race or something like that. I think about the next time I'm going to be on stage. I think about the way it's going to feel when people tell me after how it made them feel. I think about what the success feels like at a big picture. I think about some of those fuck yeah moments that I'm pursuing in business and in life. And it is powerful. And not for nothing, you can go small ball too. I spent 5 minutes meditating before I jumped on this call. And all I'm doing in that is just visualizing me being my best authentic self. It's not like I'm trying to put words into it. I'm just visualizing a good energy.
Yes. And I love that you say that. So your vibe, everything, and I think I even mentioned it when I told Coach about you coming on with us, gives me a lot of David Goggins. Are you familiar with the story? And he said something, and his was one of the. So I've been listening to people like David Goggins and Brian Tracy's, to anybody, name it, and especially if they have a YouTube channel with a bunch of content, I probably listen to it. And it's just something that drives me and something that I know I've needed, and it helps. And so, but one thing that David, if this is what pushes you, or what you're pushing to not want to stop, because again, there's a breaking point in that. I think that's part of life. You have to get to a break to realize that the worst thing that can happen is it just fails, and then you just try something else or try again. But you just don't stop. The only person who can stop you is you. And so I think, but what I'm getting at with that is so David Goggins was going to God and having this chart and saying, well, you were supposed to do this, and you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to do this. Oh, I didn't see you doing this, and I didn't, and kind of wanting to outwork the chart. And that was, I've always been big with challenges. Challenges have always driven me. The more tricky, the better. The more I have to deep think, perfect. Give me that challenge. But when I heard that, it was okay, that was okay, next level. That. What is my chart, or what could it possibly be, and what can I really outdo? And so that's the driver for me now. I was I'm not stopping. There's nothing that's going to stop me because of that, because I figured out there's nothing else more than that drives me. But so was there a message like that struck you, that keeps you wanting the next challenge, that keeps you hungry for the next challenge?
Absolutely there is. And I can even tell you the day I got it, but there are a couple similarities between Goggins and myself, besides the fact that we're clearly like similar build and everything. But number one,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize he's all about mindset. Like they focus too much on the physical activity that he does, but he's all about mindset. And the second thing that really is similar to David Goggins and I is this: when he talks about, the list, right? The uncommon ways he was supposed to have lived and stuff like that, right? His lifestyle is how he makes sense of his life. It's how he makes sense of all the things that have happened to him. It's how he took back power of his life, right? That's no different than mine. My purpose is to overcome every obstacle and inspire others that they can too. That clicked in my head one day in 2019. It was probably March or something. It literally was like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And literally, that's the game now. My purpose is to overcome every obstacle and inspire others that they can too. When I lost my job in October, bro, it took me about 22 seconds to look forward to the next thing. I announced to the world the next morning I was a motivational speaker and mindset coach. I probably messaged you that week. Like there was no time for this. I knew what my purpose was. When I tore my hamstring, or I didn't tear it, thank God. When I strained my hamstring in a race back in November, I'm like, well, I guess I have to overcome this now too. When I had a catastrophic plumbing issue the other day, it was the same thing. I said, all right, I just have to overcome this now too. That is my purpose. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to take a beating, take the hard, long climb, learn some lessons from it, and help other people get through the same shit. And we're paused. Come on, internet. Shit. Really? We're back. You got me?
Are we back? Literally, my whole screen just went completely blank. Although now my picture looks super clear. So I don't know really what happened, but it just
I didn't know if I was in the show or not. So I'm like,
no. And hey, y'all, sorry about that, but this is live. This is real. And clearly, there's something.
We just got to overcome this obstacle and then help others do it too.
That's it. We're showing you a real, live, raw, overcoming adversity with clear technology right now. But back to again what you were saying, because I want to go back to that. What was that moment that was that defining moment in 2019?
So, you talk about YouTube and stuff like that a little bit ago. So my warm-up routine in the morning, I am on YouTube. That's and I'm either watching videos on how to rehab whatever I most recently injured, or it's just positivity and motivational stuff. And, I had heard something and it just clicked to me. And I don't remember the exact line. It was something like help others, or be your best and help others be their best. And, I'm a recovering alcoholic. Like what keeps me sober is helping other people get sober and stay sober. I have just found so much value in my life on helping others in every single aspect. If you're in a rut, go help somebody. If you're stuck in your head, go help somebody else. Like you're having a bad day, go help somebody. That's it. I don't think there's any other purpose for us being on this planet but to help other people. Otherwise, we're just takers. And I'm like, you know what? It makes me feel good. Who cares if it's self-serving if it helps people? Why else would I have gone through all the shit that I went through? Why am I still here? Because that was a question I've been asking for 20 years since that first car accident. Why am I still here? Why not me? Like when I got cancer, it was, why didn't I die? When I got it the second time, I was really mad. I'm like, why aren't I dead? The third time I was too drunk to care. And the fourth time I literally was begging God to take me because I have had enough. Why am I still here if I'm not going to do something with it? And I'm like, you know what? There is a purpose. The other line was this, and it was what I read Lance Armstrong's It's Not About the Bike. And I don't care what anybody thinks about him as an athlete. It's still a great book, and there's still a lot of good stuff in there. But the part I took from me is he was like, I was just meant for a long, hard climb. And I'm like, the moment I accepted that on my own, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop asking when it's going to stop, because, and I was just warming up that morning and I go, it's what I'm here for. That's why I'm here. I am here because I am meant for a long, hard climb. But the fact is I climb mountains and the views from the top are worth living for. So it all came on to me. And I was like, my purpose is to overcome every obstacle and inspire others that they can too. And it is like a fucking game to me now. I look at everything like that. And again, is it self-serving? Sure. Who cares though? Like, it helps me get through my days. It helps me get through all dark times. We were talking about business and entrepreneurship. Isn't it all blank space? There's no roadmap. I don't think anybody has a crystal ball, right? How do you get through that blank space? You know, I'm in a couple groups with other entrepreneurs and speakers and network, like people like that too. And man, thank God I spent 20 years in sales, because there are some people out there, some serious badasses with some skills and messages to deliver, who don't know how to make an introduction. And so they crumble under that blank space. Whereas me, I'm like, here's a pen. Let's draw. Let's see what's out there. Let's have fun. And because there is something too, I did look ahead and I said, what's the worst that can happen? You know, the worst that can happen, I mean, yeah, there's financial ruin, but you know what? I grew up broke. I'll make it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. I can always make money.
It is that breaking point to where you said that fourth time of like, why am I still here? I think that's, and you religious, but I think that's where we need people on. I guess part of my secret mission of the whole helping 10,000 families create heaven on earth is, it sounds, once people hear heaven, it's woo woo and it's spiritual. And again, I'm the last person who ever thought that I'd be considered spiritual with my own kind of crazy spiritual journey. But literally, even what you're saying is, I go back to, I'm big on The Chosen right now. I don't know if you've ever seen it or heard of it. Big, like the apostles and stuff during, or his disciples, it's on Prime. And so literally watching it, just obsessed with it. And I go back to that because that's everybody's story. Every single one of his disciples had some difficulty, some challenge. And that's where I think it's either we're facing challenges for good or we're facing challenges for bad, but we're going to face a challenge. Like that's what life is. And it's, so you're either know your purpose and you're chasing something more, or you get stuck in those comfort zones, those dead zones. Here, this was my bad. I show this.
How many of there are you? Don't tell me you're froze again. Nothing I can do, right? It says I'm in the show, so he will be right back. In case I am live, if you aren't following DJ, you need to, because he is constantly posting positive messages, and these are messages that can resonate with all of us throughout the day. I constantly talk about this stuff, and I love catching up to it. Oh, are you back? No, it's just me and this picture of you. But that's one of the reasons, that's probably the primary reason why I connected to him in the first place, is I don't like it when people knock social media, because you choose your feed, and I choose to feed the good wolf with all the good positive content and information that's out there. I like to surround myself with like-minded, inspired, and motivating people who just want to share their journey with other people to help them along the way. So he is a good one. Obviously, you're probably following him if you're listening to this right now. Are you back?
Let's see. Is this
I hear you. There you
yes. So again, lost me again. So we are clearly having some major connection issues.
I just kept going. I just kept telling everybody to make sure they follow you for positive Feed the Good Wolf content, just in case I'm live.
Well, thank you for that. Again, yeah, I don't even know. It said it was ending the stream, but I think we might still be live. But
And it told me I was in the show, so I was like, I better keep going.
Well, either way, we'll kind of wrap up, and then what I'll do is because I tried to use a computer and tried to use a little bit different setup. If you're free on Thursday, I want to have you come back on and kind of finish this. Usually, Coach do a recap of the show, but since Coach, I don't know if he's even going to be available Thursday. So yeah, if you're free and want to come back, we'll try to do a live, and we can work that out timing and schedule wise after. But yeah, literally.
Actually, yeah, I'm still 4:00 Thursday. I am good.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, let's book it for that, and let's hop back on and get more. But it says we're live, so I don't know if we're live. So we'll kind of wrap this up and see. Really, again, sorry y'all having major technical difficulties over here. My computer, like this time it actually did say lost connection, trying to reconnect, and then my whole just closed and then reopened, and then my picture was on there. And so actually I'll get to that if so that was one of the comfort zones, and that's what I was really going to get to is we if forget spirituality. I think we're at a point even in that show where Jesus was trying to just speak to everybody and forget you're different. Well, your religion says this and my religion says that, so we're going to argue about this, and let's just get it to the basics and just do the right thing and be good. And so that's my whole Feed the Good Wolf and what I'm all about, really. But really, I think more than that is if we can just figure it out that the 7 deadly sins are real. Like those are the challenges, the monsters you're facing in the comfort zones if you're not facing your best self. So like that's what I love, that you're chasing challenges and being your best self, because if you're not trying to better yourself, which is obviously going to better everybody around you, you're in one of those comfort zones chasing one of those evil monsters. And obviously my evil monsters in those comfort zones were gluttony and sloth, clearly, because I had those really too. More than that, it was mind control. Once I figured out this was my biggest monster to overcome, that was when. And there's something to it. I mean, and maybe this is what we can talk about. And again, don't know if we're live, but we can talk about on Thursday is the controlling of the mind. And once you figure out that you can really get out of the victim mindset or the scarcity mindset or the limited mindset and find the abundance mindset, the growth mindset, the other mindsets. Once you figure out that it's almost like a hat or an ability that you can tap into by listening to the right things, doing the right things, I think that's when the game kind of changes. But for me, I seen a post where it said, once you can control what you eat, you can control anything. That was like the aha for me. It was like, okay, like it's this. Like, what am I going to then it triggers this? Why am I doing this? What is causing this? And it's always this, but it's something going back. And that's what the game really is. But so if you want to finish up, take the last kind of few minutes and really just share, just in case, again, we are live, share where they can find you, where they can book you. You guys will see him again Thursday. I'll be using my phone, so hopefully we won't have the same issues. But yeah, dude, seriously.
We'll just have different ones and we'll overcome those too. So yes, I am everywhere on the internet at Stride Motivation. That's on all social media platforms. I post daily motivational content just several times a day. You'd probably think I was a teenager chilling at home, but hey, I got a lot to say. The book Through the Fire is available on Amazon on February 19th. That entire week, it will actually be free for download. So If you've got the Kindle version, e-reader, any sort of e-reading app, it'll be which is free. It'll be available for download. I am available for speaking engagements, both virtual and live. We're booking into March, April, and I'm available booking at stridemotivation.com. And if you just want to throw some good vibes, find me on LinkedIn, find us on Facebook. And I will leave with this, or at least my comment. And this is what I was saying while we were timed out there for a moment. 2020 was a gift for me, because 2020 showed me I don't need to stay connected to all the negativity on social media. I don't care if I agree with you or not on whatever stance you're taking. It's my feed. And I choose not to see constant negativity. It's not petty, because the person you unfriend doesn't care and they don't know. And half the people who are in that in your life, you're not friends in real life. Social media can be a place where we all come together, despite the little things that we might disagree on. It doesn't have to be, but it doesn't have to be a negative thing. You choose your feed, which is one of the reasons why I've been connected to you, liking your content, because I want to feed that good wolf too. We're not divine. Well, maybe we are divine with it, but negative comments are negativity is so attractive. So we have to make decisive action, as you were just talking about, to control our thoughts, control our actions. And the first thing is make those conscious decisions to just surround yourself with good positivity.
I love it. And man, you know something, and it's probably, I'll find the quote, because I heard Gary Vee say it, but and it wasn't even a quote. It was a video, maybe a TikTok short or something, but he said, I'm sick of people complaining about their algorithm is making me. You are your algorithm. Like, people need to figure that out already. Like, you are deciding what keeps feeding in front of you. So like, if you're not liking some of the negative or the things that you're seeing, like, change what you're thinking and what you're feeding. And that's back to feeding the good wolf. I mean, that was I'll go to that real quick and kind of end there, because and thank you for that. But literally, that was, for me, it was these little things. And this spiritual, I realized, going to private Catholic school my whole life, I realized I was kind of chasing a figure and a story, and then looking at these people telling me that I'm doing these things wrong, but I know what they do, and they're doing way worse than anything that I feel like I've ever done. And they're telling me that I'm wrong, and so I'm beating myself up. And so there was very spiritual. It was literally hearing Matthew McConaughey in these videos. Like, clearly that's where we're connected. I need that stuff constantly. And it was a Matthew McConaughey, a speech at some Ivy League school, and he gave his steps, but he also shared the story, the Cherokee Indian story of feeding the good wolf, and which wolf wins is the one you feed. And it was like, oh my goodness. Like, yes, I can, like, that's simple. Like, and that's where I think I want people to realize this game is not simple. If it is simple for you right now, you're not challenging yourself enough. I promise you, something's going to happen that will challenge you. Because if you're in a test right now, you either just finished a test or a test is coming, but there has to be a test. And if you're
under the weight of the world and a lot of pain, it's because you're pretending that you're not being tested and trying to avoid it.
Yes. And so we have to fight that, and we have to go at it and go be our best self. And that's something that drove me to your content. Was you were I'm seeing you do all of these the strong motor and tough motor and all of these things, and I'm like, man, it seems like it'd be so much fun. Now, when I was even seeing them again, I think I was closer to what I looked like then, but in one of those pictures. But it was literally like, man, that would be so much fun. But it was the challenge, and that's find what drives you. Like, pretend you have all the money, the things, all the status, all the everything. And this is my challenge to everybody: find what is next. Because okay, you have no job to go for, no anything. So what are you doing? Just sitting around spending your money? I guarantee after a certain period, it becomes fun either. So you start chasing something, and it's either those some of those deadly sins, and again, either we're always battling those now, but find something. There is something deeper. There is a purpose, a passion. That's what I said with you. Sales drove you to the motivational speaking side, to your journey and your experience, and then the competition. And that's why your passion for that is obvious. Like, it's what drives you, is that challenge that you've always been searching for. You found it in that, and there is no end. It's because it's you against you. And that's where the game has to get to. Once we find that purpose, that calling, that gift, then there is no competition. It's us. It's just me against me. And so now you're not really competing with anybody, but you're wanting to collaborate more. And so I love that you shared that with social media and with the internet, and we need to embrace this. I was so amazed by like being able to have these friends, being in this podcast world, across overseas, in Scotland, England, in the UK, and all of these different places, in Japan, and it's like, wow, like, so you have to embrace that we are still connected. We just need to connect in a different way than we used to. We still need the communities. We still need that. So again, I love what you're about, man. I love your content, so keep sharing it. I love your message about live inspired. Something needs to inspire us. The things we chase.
Let me touch on that one real quick.
Good. Yeah.
Live inspired. Please. Inspire yourself. The way that I came up with that is literally walking out one morning, because my motivational videos in the morning are part of my positivity practice. And I mean that. It's a practice of positivity. From the moment I wake up until the moment I finish my workout, I'm thinking of something positive to say. And I was saying about inspiration, and I was feeling good about myself that day. And I said, you know what? Inspire yourself. Do something inspiring. Challenge yourself. Do anything inspiring. Inspiration is everywhere if you want it. Just do anything you think you can't do. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. All I did that particular workout that day was just do the workout. But the fact that I did it when I didn't want to, I was inspired. I just had that energy. That's what I love about obstacle course racing, is inspiration is everywhere. Whether it be the obstacle you just beat for the first time, that fear overcome, the adaptive athlete who is showing us what mental toughness really is. There's just all these things available to feel good about ourselves. And like you said, find that passion to pursue, because what fires you up, right?
Yes.
When I'm stoked about something, I'm stoked about something. And that energy is just transferable. And who doesn't want to be around it? Like, who doesn't want to be around happy people? So do what makes you happy and share it with the world.
Yes. We're ending on that, y'all. So again, that will drive you to inspire yourself. Be the example that you want to see in others, and you'll be surprised. Soon enough, it starts reflecting back. Kind of crazy how that works. But they do say, wherever you go, there you are. So remember that, y'all. But again, until Thursday, I can't wait to catch up and kind of finish this chat. Dude, this was awesome. Thank you again for the content you put out, for your message you're trying to do. If y'all want a speaker, you better reach out to Nick. Get him, book him for your next event. And please just live inspired, y'all, and keep feeding the good wolf.
Always on the red eye. This time around, it's not even about getting paid. I'm just an